Welcome back to Agent Academy. This is Mission 4 Add Event Triggers to Act Autonomously. My name is Elaiza Benitez, and I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. In this mission, we're going to add some autonomy to our hiring agent. You'll learn why event triggers are useful, the characteristics of event triggers, and the difference between interactive and autonomous agents. We'll then finish with a demo of the mission where our hiring agent can handle incoming emails with a resume file attachment and notify a channel in Microsoft Teams using an adaptive card. Let's talk about event triggers and how they transform agents from reactive to proactive. An event trigger enables your agent to act autonomously when something happens in another system without user input. Think of it like a notification system that wakes up your agent. Here's how it works. External events such as a new email arriving or a scheduled recurrence send a payload to your agent through connectors. That payload contains variables and instructions that your agent uses to decide what to do next. The key benefit is that your agent shifts from answering questions to anticipating needs and acting independently. Instead of waiting for someone to ask, "Did we get any new resumes?" your agent can automatically process those resumes the moment they arrive. Let's dive into what makes event triggers special and what you need to know to use them. First, they activate autonomously. They're executed by external events, not by user input. Each trigger delivers a payload with both data and instructions, and your agent decides which actions or topics to invoke based on that payload. Common examples are newly created SharePoint items or uploaded files, submitted Microsoft Forms responses, or scheduled recurrences. Now, it's important to know that generative orchestration must be enabled in your agent for event triggers to work. Authentication for the trigger connector uses the agent maker's account, and each trigger delivery counts as a message toward your Copilot Studio capacity. Now, let's compare interactive agents with autonomous agents to see how they differ. Interactive agents start when a user types or sends a message. They rely on topic triggers, which can be phrases, or by agent matching to initiate conversations. Now, they're perfect for Q&A guided workflows and request-driven actions in chat environments. For example, a user asks, "What's the refund policy?" and the agent responds with the answer. Autonomous agents, on the other hand, start from external system events through event triggers via connectors. They perform proactive operations and background automation. For instance, when a new email arrives with a resume attachment, the agent automatically processes it, uploads it to Dataverse, and notifies the team without user input. The key insight here is that autonomous agents are essentially interactive agents plus event triggers. You get all the conversational capabilities, but you also gain the ability to act independently based on real world events. This combination allows your agents to not just respond to needs, but to anticipate and address them proactively. Now let's look at the practical use case we'll be building in this lab. We're putting ourselves in the shoes of an HR recruiter. Here's the scenario. As an HR recruiter, I want to be notified when an email with a resume arrives in my inbox and have it automatically uploaded to Dataverse so that I can stay notified of resumes sent by email while applications are automatically processed and sorted. To achieve this autonomous workflow, we'll use two complementary techniques. First, we'll create an event trigger that fires when the email arrives. This trigger will check that the file attachment's content type is PDF, extract the file, and upload it to Dataverse using actions through the Dataverse connector. Then send a prompt back to the agent for further processing, passing along input parameters from those Dataverse actions. Second, we'll build an agent flow in the child application intake agent that gets invoked by that prompt. This flow will use the input parameters passed from the event trigger, post an adaptive card to a Microsoft Teams channel to notify the HR recruitment team, and also include a link to the Dataverse row, which can be viewed directly in the hiring agent. Sounds exciting? Let's get started. First, we'll add the event trigger. In the Hiring Agents Overview tab, scroll down to Triggers, select Add. We'll select when a new email arrives as our trigger and give it a descriptive name like when a new email arrives from an applicant, and make sure all connection references show green check marks. If not, create new ones. Now we configure the trigger inputs. Set include attachments to yes, add application as a subject filter, and set only with attachments to yes. This ensures we only process emails with attachments related to job applications. Next, we'll edit the trigger in Power Automate. Click the ellipsis next to your trigger and select Edit in Power Automate. This opens the Flow Designer where we'll add our automation logic. The first thing we'll do is enable Split On in the trigger settings and update the array drop-down field by selecting the array parameter of the trigger. This ensures the flow runs separately for each email, even if multiple arrive at once. Now we add conditional logic below the trigger by adding a condition action. To check the attachment is a PDF file, in the left field of the action, select the attachment's content type parameter from dynamic content. Notice how Power Automate automatically adds a for each loop action. This is because we're working with an array of attachments. In the right field, type application PDF. In the true path, we'll process the PDF file. We'll first add an HTML to text action to convert the email body from HTML to plain text. This cleans up the cover letter content. Select the body parameter from the trigger as the input. Then add a Dataverse add a new row action to create a new row in the resumes table. We'll rename our action, and then we'll map the resume title to the attachment file name by using an expression. We'll map the cover letter to the output of the HTML to text action by copying and pasting an expression from the lab exercise that performs a quick check to truncate it if it exceeds the column length of 2,000 characters. For source email address, we'll use the value of the from parameter. And for upload date, use the expression with the function UTC-now that returns the current UTC timestamp. Next, we need to upload the file to the newly created Dataverse row. We'll add a Dataverse upload a file or an image action and rename the action. For content name, we'll map it to the name of the file. And for the table, we'll select resumes and choose the row resume row ID from the previous add new Dataverse row action. We'll set the column name to resume PDF, and for content, we'll map it to the content bytes property to get the raw file data. Finally, we send a prompt to the agent. Drag the sends a prompt to the specified copilot for processing action into the true path below the upload action. Clear the default message and paste the following text. This prompt passes the new Dataverse rows information to our child agent for the next step. We'll replace the placeholders with dynamic content from the add a new resume row action of resume ID and resume title. Save the flow, then click back. To edit the details, you may not see the edit link immediately, so here's a tip: refresh your web browser and then click Edit. Change the plan to Copilot Studio and select Confirm. Converting it allows you to manage the event trigger flow in Copilot Studio and consume Copilot Studio capacity instead of Power Automate billing. Finally, go back and publish the flow. Our event trigger now autonomously processes resume emails from start to finish. Next, we need to build the agent flow that will post an adaptive card to a Microsoft Teams channel to communicate a new resume row has been created in Dataverse. In the Hiring Agent, go to the Agents tab and select Application Intake Agent. Scroll down to Tools where we will add a new tool by selecting Agent Flow. This opens the Flow Designer. We'll first configure the trigger inputs. In the trigger, add three inputs: resume ID, resume title, and resume number. These correspond to the parameters passed from our event trigger. Next, we add the Microsoft Teams action below the trigger by selecting the postcard in a chat or channel action. Sign in to create a connection reference if needed. We'll configure the remainder of the action where we'll post as the Flowbot and post in a channel where we select the designated team and channel from the drop-downs. Now we configure the adaptive card. Paste the JSON from the resume table updated JSON file in the lab exercise. We need to customize this JSON with dynamic values. First, update the select action element URL property. Replace the placeholder with the resume system view URL from your Hiring Hub app. This URL contains your environment's organization URI, app ID, and view ID. Next, we'll add dynamic content. Scroll to the text property for the resume number placeholder. Delete the placeholder and insert the resume number parameter from the trigger. Do the same for resume name placeholder using the resume title parameter. For the due date, delete the placeholder and copy and paste the expression from the lab exercise. This sets a review deadline 3 days from today. Quick tip: if you don't see the Add Expression button in the flyout pane, zoom out of your browser and you'll see the Add button. Finally, let's update the View Resume URL property in the Action Open URL element. Replace the URL placeholder value with an existing resume row URL, or you can use a new resume row URL from your Hiring Hub app. Keep everything up to the ID parameter. If using an existing resume row, delete the GUID row. Insert the resume ID parameter from the trigger. This creates a direct link to the specific resume row. Lastly, let's configure the respond to the agent action. We'll add a text output named end conversation with the value finished. This signals the agent that processing is complete. Click Save Draft and open the Overview tab and then enter a flow name such as Notified Teams Applicant Channel and save. Return to the Designer tab and click Publish. We'll now add the agent flow as a tool for the application intake agent. We'll navigate back to the hiring agent, select application intake agent, update its description to mention notifying the Teams channel. Then we'll add the publish flow as a tool to our child agent. Once added, we'll save the changes, open the agent flow tool, and keep the default settings for the inputs of dynamically fill with AI. Lastly, let's update the agent instructions. Add a new instruction that tells the agent when it needs to invoke the agent flow. These instructions represent the response from the event trigger that is sent back to the agent, which contains the resume ID and resume number of the newly created Dataverse row. Use a / to insert the flow reference. Save and publish the hiring agent. Let's now test our agent flow. Compose a new email message in Outlook. Set yourself as a recipient and we'll enter the subject from the lab instructions. We'll also copy and paste the sample cover letter text from the lab instructions. Attach a resume file and then send the email. Now watch the magic happen. Navigate to the Power Automate Maker portal and open your event trigger flow. Click the refresh icon. You should see a new flow run with a status of succeeded. This confirms the trigger executed and processed your email. Back in Copilot Studio, go to the Hiring Agents Activity tab. You'll see an activity named Automated with a status of complete. This represents the event trigger and agent flow execution. Click on the activity to open the activity map. In the right panel, you'll see the event trigger and the prompt sent to the agent with three input parameters: the resume ID, the resume title, and the resume number. Back in the activity map, select the Application Intake Agent node. In the right panel, you'll see the application intake agent was called and confirmation that the parameters were successfully passed from the event trigger to the agent flow for further automation. Finally, let's verify the team's notification and the newly created row in the Dataverse resume table. Open the Microsoft Teams channel the adaptive card was posted to. Select the resume table updated hyperlink. This opens the resume system view in the Hiring Hub app, which confirms the URL works. Return to the adaptive card and select the View Resume hyperlink. This opens the resume row directly in the Hiring Hub app. Mission accomplished. You have added autonomy to the hiring agent where resumes arrive by email and are automatically processed, stored, and communicated to your team. You also learned how to update the application intake agent instructions to invoke the flow after the event trigger has completed. That's it for this mission. Keep experimenting, keep building, and as always, keep learning. We'll see you in the next mission of Agent Academy.